Hello everyone, this is Jasmine aka gladiatorinsweats, and I'm here with a brief overview of this Blue Eagle Wavespell that takes place today today, September 30th through October 12th. So the next 13 days, or essentially the next 2 weeks. So I'll go ahead and include a little graphic so that you're able to just see the gist of what this energy resonates and feels of. But I feel that there's this blooming into our cosmic awareness through the challenges that are posed by our instincts, which ultimately I want to refer to those more as like habitual patterns and muscle memory, if you will. Even when you really think about muscle memory and the whole concept of repetitive motion, so much so that you don't think about it, it's an unconscious doing. So really we're dealing with the challenges that are posed by these imprinted actions, these patterns of thought, of action, of belief, what have you, while receiving guidance by the unseen forces of death and rebirth. This Pluto energy coming through, that's really leading us through this void or transition, this transition space between, not even necessarily just between worlds, but between these states. We're really in this void space. And I definitely feel that also with the card that I pulled for just really resonating. What is the goal? What is our purpose in this Blue Eagle Wavespell of transformation, which is the death card? So this is definitely talking about this like scorpionic energy that we're also really running, or I want to say running into, but that we're definitely coming full charge into with Pluto direct as of today, with Venus retrograde, which I see this also just in understanding the mythology of Venus, of being the morning and evening star, and understanding those connections to Lucifer, to Satan with Venus retrograde. I feel those, those deep psychological plutonic energies coming through there as well. Then we also have Mercury moving into Scorpio on the 9th. So I mean, this will all be happening as we are, slowly, or not even really that slowly, because September went by so fast. So really, Scorpio season will be right upon us before we even know it. So yeah, we're definitely in this, deep, quote unquote dark. And I guess it's dark, but I guess the way that I feel this is it's not necessarily, I don't want to paint it as dark, necessarily scary, but it's not so much in the logic base. We're really having to deal with our shadows, and not even necessarily our shadows, but everything that we keep hidden. That's ultimately what we are talking about, or ultimately what I am talking about when I'm referring to shadows, when I'm referring to our quote unquote darkness and things of that nature. I want to completely throw all of the preconceived notions of like good and bad away when I'm talking about this light and dark. Really, I'm just talking about that which isn't seen, or that which is hidden, that which is not known. So, as I'm talking about, the dark coming to the light, it's really about all of these things hidden, good, bad, and indifferent, coming to the light. And usually it's not the good things that we hide. It's not usually the beautiful, or the things that we view as beautiful things that we try to, bury under the ground or bury under the dirt, right? So, yeah, let's just be for real about it. These, not even just these next 2 weeks, but really like rolling into this month and then clearing out the rest of this year, we're definitely moving into the darker times of us dealing with and being amidst and aware of the things that we've kept hidden for so long. And I say for so long, especially because of this active energy we've had in Capricorn with Pluto and Saturn really wanting to bring everything up. And ultimately there's this battle between what is and the powers that ultimately be, that are bringing about change. So overall, how this, I guess, relates to us just in our individual lives, where really on this journey, or entering this part of this new leg, I guess, of this journey, where we're having to rise above our limitations, and essentially rising so high to where we're not seeing so much of just all of the boundaries and all of the quote unquote illusions, where we are able to rise above it and be able to see above the game board. Like, I don't know why that just came into my mind, of just being able, like, just when you're on the ground and just being able to like see above for whatever reason. I just imagined like a game piece in a game board, and coming from, or not even coming from being this piece, but there's this integration of understanding and sight of our, like, on the ground, actually being here in this experience, and then also having this higher understanding or sight or vision as the person playing the pieces. And I mean, you can think of or I can think of a bunch of different analogies that really resonate or are similar to that, but that's really what I feel like this experience is like, and I guess I've been saying this in so many different ways, of we're just really tapping into our greater understanding. Like, just imagine if an ant was able to tap into our awareness. Like, just think of it in that terms. And I just got a whole bunch of chills. So I definitely feel like that's kind of how it is. And so you could just imagine, like, how unaware an ant is of what we're doing. All that they know is that they're scared of, like, or who am I to say? I don't know that for sure. But all that they know is that we're bigger, we're, these higher beings, or these beings of greater might, if you will, just to put in the very simplest terms, without making this super meta. But yeah, I definitely am seeing it this way, and I definitely feel it resonates that way, where we just can often have no idea. We just don't really have, or we can have an inkling, but the inkling that we have is just like the tiniest drop in the ocean of all that is going on. And so I guess for me, not even just for me, but the guidance that I even feel before I even just get into the cards is, just not necessarily take it easy, but as in, being kind to ourselves, in the sense of, like, not getting so hard on ourselves, remembering and anchoring in the understanding and truth of this being this cosmic storm, as I've been referring to these shifts and these fluctuations. And maybe sometimes that isn't enough, but I really feel that in really understanding that, for one, it's a collective thing, that it's not like just me, that it's not something that I'm personally doing to somehow make my life like crappy while everyone else is fine. Like, if that's what you're feeling, or if that's something that you've been thinking or whatnot, like, I promise you, you're not alone. Many of us are going through that. And especially, I guess, even as a disclaimer, as I do these, I guess, overviews or videos or whatever, I go through these difficult times just as intensely. And not even to say like I know that much, but regardless of what quote unquote stage or however much awareness that you may have in this experience, or while in this experience, there's still surprises for all of us. There still is something, there's still some bit that is here for us to be able to work through. And so knowing that it's supposed to be triggering, knowing that these times are not even going to, but that they're supposed to be, that it's really us walking almost through even temptation. Because I feel on the flip side of this is, again, us recognizing the mirror in everything, because I also feel that with the cards. I guess here, let me just go into the cards, and I guess I feel like this will lead into what I am feeling. So the card that I did pull, like I said earlier, was transformation, and bottom of the deck I have this Two of Cups, and even underneath this I have the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Cups. So I'm definitely feeling this, and it's definitely registering to me as the divine truth coming out of recognizing the, not just the duality, but the inherent integration that takes place, that is of this duality, of recognizing that what it is that we despise and what it is that we quote unquote love or appreciate is one and the same, and recognizing all of the being this reflection, or not just reflection, but yeah, it's a projection of our internal world. And I guess I'll just go ahead and just read the passage that comes with the card, since I always feel like passages are probably a better way to explain it, because I'm just kind of going off the top of my dome. I'm just directly giving you how I feel. So let me just go ahead and read this for you. All right. So it says, or I really just want to get to the part that I really resonated with. This would be the perfect time to realize that all relationships are really about you. Notice when you interact with different people in your life. Are they giving you energy or taking it away? Is there an even exchange? There should be an equal balance between giving and receiving. But ultimately, relationships are mirror images of your own life. They reflect how you feel and treat yourself, and how you react and respond to various situations and individuals around you. Each and every union is an opportunity for soul growth. So, as I had been talking about in the past month about this focus towards our relationships, this focus towards not just our relationships, but this focus towards ourself and our relation to other people, and our relation to, the grander scheme of things, all about our relationships in general. As there's been this focus right now on this Aries and Libra axis, but not just that. We've also had this heavy energy with the Leo and Aquarian axis, which I do feel also resonates with us, touching into what makes us feel unique, while also recognizing the interconnectedness between us all. And so, yeah, I really feel I could talk about this forever, ultimately. Like, if I really just wanted to get into it deep with all of the different shifts going on. Like I said, we have Pluto direct, we have Venus retrograde, we also have this new moon in Libra, and as I had said, Mercury moving into Leo. But this new moon in Libra is definitely this key point, definitely this turning point, which there's been many turning points, so I guess it feels a little, I guess maybe a little I don't know what the word for it is, like baity to say, oh, this is a turning point every single time. But this year has been just very tumultuous and very divinely orchestrated for this, what may feel like chaos and destruction. And so, yeah, as Pluto moved direct today, I definitely feel there is this earthquaking almost. There's this shifting, or not even necessarily earthquaking, but I almost feel it in the energy of just the disruption, the illusion, the things not seeming right. It's starting to show, and I feel it's again a mirroring even of the crumbling that's taking place within the collective, of just the old collective paradigms continuing to crumble, continuing to transform, and in this constant flux of really what I feel is potentiality. Because although it many people can or may even say that, the future's already kind of planned or orchestrated or divine, which I do agree to some extent. But here we're really, it's up to us. How are we going to go about this if we're going to, surrender ultimately to these divine changes and shifts that are taking place, and if we're going to not necessarily like go along with it, like, oh, I'll just let whatever happens, but as opposed to working against it and thinking that we've got it all figured out, when in reality we aren't even that aware. Going back to that reference of like the ant to us, like, it would be really, we would laugh, or people do laugh when they play with ants, which I don't really condone. People do the things like the magnifying glass and they try to burn ants, or ultimately what I'm trying to get at is, like, there's so much going on. There's so much going on that many of us, I don't want to say all of us, because there are people that are aware, but there are many of us that are not aware on a much grander scheme of what's really going on, of who's really controlling what, of what powers are actually in play. There's just a lot, and I feel this is about some of that coming to light on a collective scale, but as well as for us personally, as we start to become aware of what has really been driving us, what has really been, ultimately, like, what have we been following, like, what urges, what feelings, what vibrations are we receiving and ultimately floating on. All this to say, like, I feel just the roots of things just further and further come to the surface, as again we not just continue to dig deeper, but I feel with Pluto direct, this is more of, there is this retrograde part where we were going, it wasn't necessarily that we were going even deeper, but it was like sitting in it, like we got to, it was almost like Pluto in Capricorn was just like drilling through the earth, like drilling and kind of, digging things up. And then the retrograde period was like, oh, we found a spot. Like, we found a nice spot that needs some real good, like, digging up, that needs some real good TLC. And that's kind of how I feel it, as we were sitting in it to really get in all the, like, crevices, pull out all the stuff, or ultimately to, like, just kind of bring it closer to the surface so it'd be easier. And so I feel like Pluto direct is like, all right, it's all gonna start flushing up the stuff that was dug up, and now it's going to start to be seen, it's going to start to be known, moving forward. So yeah, I hope that this made sense. Trying to think, was there anything else that I had felt I had wanted to share? No, I mean, I guess that was really ultimately it in reference to this Blue Eagle wave spell. Even the cards that I pulled for, what message did we most need to receive in regards to Pluto direct. And even then, the card that I did pull was this Nine of Wands in reverse. And in my Angelarium deck, I pulled the Sandalphon card, which, again, all talking about this, like, mirroring effect, this newness, and not just newness, but it's almost it's really like the other half, quote unquote, if you will, being integrated, and not just integrated, but coming down in order to create a new. Even when I think of, when I look at this card, I think of Gemini, I think of duality, I think of the space between, or not even necessarily space between, but the union between spirit and matter, or spirit and form, and which creates life. And that's really what I feel here is, ultimately we have to deal, not even necessarily just deal with the darkness, but we have to embrace the darkness to create life. It is in the darkness that life is created. And when we fear so much the darkness in whatever shape that we're or context we're speaking of, whether we're speaking of, having to deal with the parts of ourselves or other people's or the collective or society as a whole, those things that we turn a blind eye to, or the things that we maybe know better about or get inklings about, but it just never really sinks in, or it just never becomes a full-blown issue, or we are able or find ways to dull the knowing, or dull our sensitivity to the pains or the discomfort that we feel within our lives, or about the choices we make, or just whatever it is. And I feel like that's really kind of this phase of not just the good parts, or quote unquote good parts of ourselves that we're tapping into, like maybe the newfound confidence that was buried deep somewhere, or the righteous rage that was buried underneath somewhere that you're able to create from. But also, again, the parts of ourselves that we neglect and refuse to accept, the parts of us that, in our pursuit to be righteous and in our pursuit to be these ascended people, we can disempower ourselves by burying them even further. And so, yeah, I definitely feel this again of these shells cracking open, the illusions breaking, the masks, the facades, everything, crumbling, and crumbling even more so. So, honestly, I feel this message is maybe a little resonant, or not even a little, it feels very much so like all the messages and everything I've been talking about recently, but I feel this is so much more so coming through because of these shifts that we're moving into, and just the inherent energy that we, always come into at this time of year, as we come into these hibernation type months, or at least for us in the northern hemisphere. It's definitely different for people in different parts of the world, but just speaking from my point in space and time, I can only describe what I feel as these fall times, as these autumn, as these harvest seasonal times of, again, as I had mentioned on Instagram, of us not just harvesting the so-called good seeds. And that's kind of what maybe that's really even what the veil is about, is so much of what we consider to be good, or what we consider to just be like the end all be all, is not so. And so I just feel like there's just a lot that may come to the surface for us personally as well as collectively, that ultimately helps us and pushes us to really break out of our shells and become the higher self that we are. I really feel like that's what this, again, as I've been talking about, this higher self integration, which is ultimately the knowledge and the embodiment of all that we are and will be. And so it's a grand energy to come into, which is why it takes a lot of time, and ultimately why our bodies have to go through a lot of acclimation, because our bodies have to be suitable to hold this energy, to hold this light, to hold this power. So yeah, try and end it there. So thank you so much for tuning in. I am hoping and desiring to do a YouTube live either. Well, I have it planned for the 10th of October, but I'm not entirely sure what day. I just am really wanting to go live because I've had a few people inquire about having like a live chat where, people can ask questions if they have any questions for me, or if they just want to discuss any of the current transits, or just want to talk about the current energies, or do like a live reading. And I'm not even entirely sure, but I guess I'm really wanting to do something more interactive, because I can talk all day to myself, but that's not really what I'm here for. I mean, that's not necessarily my intent. My intent is really to converse with people, because it's not that I feel that I know everything. It's that I feel that we all have something that we can share and that we're able to learn from someone. So I just want to put out my fair share and learn from everyone else as well. So yeah, without further ado, as usual, um, check out the description box for ways to find me on Instagram, or if you would like to book a reading or session with me. And while I'm even thinking or discussing this, I've been wanting to provide something for those that are not needing or wanting something so hands-on, as far as like a counseling session, or any sort of sessions to help catalyze your spiritual transformation, or just maybe looking for an oracle or a reading to summarize, or not necessarily summarize, but to bring, the most relevant guidance or message that you most need to receive. I'm really wanting to do something like that, very similar to what I do or have done with my daily readings, but more on a very personal level. So that is something I'm not just looking forward to, but I'll have that up on the site and available for purchase hopefully by the end of the week. But yeah, I ultimately, all of this time, and even the time that I've been taking to not make videos, has really been me honing in on what it is that I want to do, what it is that I feel called to do. Because again, it's not that I feel there's any sort of information that I am giving that is necessarily new, or even something that other people can't give, but I just want to give it in my own way, and just be able to provide and hold space for people that are going through this. Because I feel that there's already a lot of information out there. So for me, it's not even necessarily that I feel that my information is what I feel is most valuable. I feel my ability to hold space, my ability to, again, catalyze people's transformation, just by being able to speak to the topic or concern at hand. Uh, I feel like that's really my ability, because I feel I'm just more intuitively guided that way, to be able to speak on a more intimate, or just on a more personal level. So yeah, again, I'm going off and rambling again. So yeah, do check out my site, especially around the end of the week, for further services of that nature. But otherwise, I think that's really it. Oh, and I do have a I'm not entirely sure if it was going to be live or if it's pre-recorded, but a talk with Jamal from Aquarian Adepts. So do stay tuned for that. I know that will be exciting, and I've actually been having a lot of fun being able to talk to other people's in this field. So, and not just talk to them, but just be able to engage and have these conversations, because I think there's, again, as I said, there's a lot of us, not just on YouTube, but on the internet, in the world in general, wanting to not just speak our truth, but, we're really wanting to shine our light. But I think it would be, cool as well to connect, to really be able to relate to each other, and, build community. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, so again, with much love and sending y'all many blessings, I hope that this brought some sort of clarity and insight over the next 2 weeks, collectively, really. And until next time, peace.